Hey guys, Fireman Carnivore here. Trying to move away from the drive-in talks that I've been doing and do some more uh, like intimate content, especially content where I'm not distracted by the wonderful drivers in my town. And I'm very close to getting my carnivore nutrition certification. I finished the course, and probably in the next day or two, I'm going to write up the written final and send it off to Coach Pete. And now that I am certified, soon to be imminent, certifiable, I kind of want to start putting myself out there and start talking about some things that will contribute to the holistic health space. And today I want to talk about marketing because this really bothers me. Marketing is really, really something that I am that animates me, and it goes back to when I was in my I guess I was in my 20s or something. Columbia House sold cassette tapes. Well, I joined like a book club that was similar, and it was very basic. It was very establishment, and I don't even know what other books I ended up getting. I don't even want to talk about how stupid it was, but one of the books I got was on marketing and how advertisements trick you into kind of trick your mind. So, and like just to give you an example, it was very very uh, it was not a very deep dive into mind control and marketing and propaganda, but like you pass a billboard for a restaurant and it says voted best shrimp or voted best pizza or something like that, and it gives you the impression that everybody thinks they're the best pizza when all that had to happen for them to make that claim was one person voted for them. One person voted for them, so it was voted best pizza or best shrimp or best coffee or best beignets or whatever. I don't know where you live in in the country. What's your cultural delicacy? But it's technically not a lie, but it's also not really true relative to what they're trying to tell you. They're kind of lying to you with the truth. It's kind of like what was that? Was it Bill Gates when he took that picture in front of a stack of books, and one of them was how to lie with statistics. These people are very, 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 very advanced and very, very good at pulling your strings like a puppet. You don't even realize it. So if you want to take a deep dive into mind control and propaganda, there's a book called Propaganda by Edward Bernays, who is the nephew of Sigmund Freud, and also the descendant of either the creators and or past or present owners of Netflix. So if you guys are watching Netflix, I am not, and I don't recommend you do. So they're just not good people. So anyway, um, one of the biggest marketing kind of like tactics or just things that really get under my skin is the idea that better equals good. So and we talk about like everybody is into the raw milk craze, and raw milk this, raw cheese, raw dairy, and raw milk is absolutely better than industrial dairy. But considering the abomination and the grotesque, disgusting abomination that industrial dairy is, saying that raw dairy is better than that is saying absolutely nothing. And uh, raw dairy is good for some people, absolutely. There's a lot of people who eat raw dairy and have absolutely no problems with it. And I am not one of those people. So I'm here to tell you that when these influencers get on their Instagram or their YouTube and tell you that you should be drinking raw milk, then they're just full of shit, and they need to shut up because they don't know what they're talking about. And they could be leading people down a very dangerous path, especially if you have weight to lose. If you have weight to lose, if you have fat to lose, you probably don't want to eat dairy at all, at least till you lose your weight, because it's very, very, it's got lactose in it and high fat, so it'll activate your Randall cycle. Which, if you know your Randall cycle, you don't want to do that. And if you don't know the Randall cycle, just search Bart K Randall cycle on your YouTube and watch the 5-minute video, and he explains it beautifully. Well, it's a very bad thing to activate your renal cycle. You do not want to, in other words, you do not want to consume high carbs and high fat at the same time. It's a bad idea. But it's also very high in growth hormones, even if it's raw. Cow's milk has growth hormone in it because it's meant to grow baby calves. So it has growth hormone in it, and growth hormone. Insulin is a growth hormone, by the way. So, and you don't want to spike your insulin when you're trying to gain weight. So you also don't want to be exogenously consuming growth hormone like that's in dairy. That's just one example. And another example of marketing that I really, 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 really hate, and which is really actually the topic of this talk, is the superfood marketing term, which is, that's all it is marketing. There is no such thing as a superfood. First of all, we all know, if you're a carnivore, that there's no such thing as a plant superfood. Kale, broccoli, chia, acai berries, none of them are superfoods. First and foremost, because plant foods are very, very they're just not bioavailable to humans. And I'll get into that in a second. But again, though, people will say dairy is a superfood. It is not. And they'll say that liver or organ meats are superfoods, and they are not. Your body is not like a car, right? Like if you take like a pimped out Toyota Celica from Fast and the Furious, and you give it the best oil and the high octane gasoline, you drive that thing as fast as it can go. And then if it can't go any faster, then you hit the nitrous oxide button, the NOS, and it's like an explosion, boom, and you're taking off into your body's not like that. And this is kind of like this is my opinion. So, and I've been in the health sphere, and I've gone through a lot of scams. Like when you're trying to figure out what's healthy and everything, there's so many scams out there. Like I used to drink agave nectar thinking it was a natural sugar and it was good for you. It's just basically high fructose corn syrup. And then, like honey. And all the while people were screaming, hey, sugar is sugar and you shouldn't be consuming it. And I'm like, no, it's honey. It's natural. And then, hopefully most of us, if you're not like a Paul Saladino follower, understand that sugar is sugar and you should not consume sugar ever. So, with organ meats, speaking of Paul Saladino, why he failed on carnivore, so he was consuming massive amounts of organ meats. Organs, from a nutritional standpoint, you could call them a superfood because they're just loaded with nutrients. But that doesn't mean your body even needs or will utilize those nutrients. And some nutrients, especially fat-soluble vitamins, can be toxic when overconsumed, particularly in liver's case, vitamin A. You're over-consuming vitamin A, and it's like if you over-consume a water-soluble vitamin, your body will just pee it out. But fat-soluble vitamins accumulate in your body, and they can be toxic. So you don't want to consume a whole buttload of vitamin A, even though and that's what liver has. And everybody's like, oh, liver is loaded with vitamin A and vitamin C. And if you know about vitamin C and carnivore and the difference between a carbohydrate-based diet and a zero-carb diet, and how it relates to vitamin C, you don't need a lot of vitamin C. And taking extra vitamin C doesn't really do anything. The amount of vitamin C that a zero-carb dieter needs daily is in the nanograms, which is billions of a gram. You do not need a lot of vitamin C. And there is more than enough vitamin C just in sirloin or ribeye or whatever you're eating. Probably other types of meat. But if you're like me, you eat nothing but beef, you're getting plenty of vitamin C with zero organ meats. And I eat zero organ meats, and I'm getting plenty of vitamin A. You have to understand too, a lot of the recommended daily allowances are just based on an unhealthy population. And a lot of it is based on, people who are consuming the food pyramid diet, the My Plate diet, like massive amounts of carbs that are depleting nutrients in your body because they contain anti-nutrients. So you have to make up for it by consuming more. And it just doesn't apply to people like us who don't eat plants. So when you become a carnivore, you really, really have to cleanse your mind of all of this gobbledygook that you've learned the science base. You need these vitamins and minerals and everything, because it's all based on complete and total nonsense. It's all based on marketing. I mean, like, we all know that, the cholesterol and saturated fat causes heart disease. We all know that was nothing but marketing disguised as science. It was just the sugar industry paying Harvard University to put out studies saying that it was causing heart disease when it was sugar. And same thing with seed oils. So, what it just has to come down to is you have to learn about biochemistry and maybe some anthropology. When they examine the bones of our ancestors, what are they finding? Like Edward Gokey talks all the time about the nitrogen isotopes in the bones of ancient humans, and they show very clearly that those humans ate massive amounts of meat. That's what they evolved on. That's what they developed on. They developed on eating meat for millions of years. And all of a sudden, these clowns come along and say, well, we need the vitamins in broccoli, and we need the vitamins in kale, and we need the vitamins in honey, and just things that we don't eat. Walk out into nature and see how much honey you can find. And there's people out there guzzling the shit every single day. Every single day is absolutely catastrophic. You can see it on Paul Saladino's face. He's aging very quickly because of it. So marketing, you really have to have a high level of discernment. And there's just no such thing as a superfood. Biohacking is a scam. I would be very, very careful about these methylene blue type things where it's just like you're trying to biohack your body, like you're upgrading your automobile with a NOS. You know what I mean? Like with the NOS injectors. It just doesn't work that way. Your body developed over millions of years to need what it needs and use what it needs, and it typically doesn't really, it's not really interested in anything more than that. And it runs perfectly fine and optimal that way. So there's no reason why you should, if you want to be superhuman, just eat what you're supposed to eat. You'll be superhuman compared to 93% of the population who are all metabolically diseased. Eat your proper human diet, and then you don't have to worry about biohacking. You don't have to worry about, how can I level up any further? You're already a god walking the earth. When you eat your proper human diet and you move and you touch grass and you get sunlight and you get proper sleep and you don't poison yourself, you're a god you're a god. There's nothing on the planet like humans. Nothing even close to an optimal human, to an empowered human. Nothing touches us. We're the apex of apex predators. We eat other apex predators. That's how apex predator we are. So I know this kind of may have touched a nerve with some people who like the biohacking, who like the methylene blue, or who want to take organ meats or desiccated organ tablets or pills or whatever, and chug dairy like crazy. And if that works for you, that's fine. You can say, oh, it's just eat raw dairy. I'm sorry, I've tried every kind of raw dairy I can find, and it all does the same shit to me as the industrial dairy does. If I could take a before picture right now, and then I could eat cheese for a week and take another picture and take a picture, and you would see exactly what that does to my body. The water weight, the inflammation, the puffiness, the sloppiness, the thickness of the skin is just very, very obvious. And if it's doing that to me externally, I don't know what it's doing to me internally, and I just don't want to mess with it. And you really shouldn't encourage people to just, it's almost like a gaslighting, like you're stupid if you don't drink dairy. Test it out. If it works for you, because nobody enjoys cheese more than I do, and I had to give it up, and I didn't like giving it up very much. It was kind of sucked, but after everything else I've given up, I gave up one more thing, just to be as close to optimal as I can, and if that's what you really care about, and that's kind of what you should care about, is there's plenty to enjoy about living optimally without the cheese, without all the other garbage that you gave up. So anyway, that's my talk for today. If you want to take a deep dive into marketing and mind control, Propaganda by Edward Bernays is a fascinating dive, and it will really, really rock your world about how little of what we believe and what we actually do is actually our own thoughts and actions, like that came from our own free will. A lot of people are very, 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 very influenced by forces that they don't even realize. And most people live their entire lives like that. I mean, like every thought, every action, everything that they do is pre-programmed by that marketing, by that propaganda, and they don't even realize it. I mean, I don't mean to keep going on, but think about beer. Like, what's more manly in our cultural sense than chugging beer? Chugging beer at the barbecue, that's manly. And nothing crushes your testosterone. Few things, if anything, crush your testosterone more than drinking alcohol. Beer especially, it's got one of the most potent phytoestrogens known to man in it. And men are just chugging it, thinking that they're, and then they're bragging about their beer belly and their visceral fat. And, like, it's, that's marketing. That is marketing, instilling that in them. They're not even thinking about it. They're just doing it because marketing told them that's what men do. They drink beer. And they have beer bellies, and it's tough. It's tough to do harmful things to yourself. You know what I mean? Like, how many times I get looked at like I'm some kind of like weakling. I don't want to use vulgar language too much in this, but weakling because I won't drink tap water. You know what I mean? Like, or I won't eat seed oils. Like, what are you, some kind of pussy? Like you don't want to die of cancer. And then they get cancer and they're like, oh, he fought it with all his might. But, he was so strong, but it still took him down. I'm like, you are not tough in the face of cancer. I've seen cancer take down the strongest people you can imagine. You are not tough. You are not tougher than cancer. You can puff your chest out and thump it all you want. But cancer will turn you into a disgrace of a human being, into a humiliation, into a, degraded, gross caricature of your former self. It's really terrible to look at. And you're not tough, and I'm not weak because I don't indulge. Right? Love you guys.